The whisper of the scanner filled the dimly lit archive room as I fed another classified document into the machine. My name is Evelyn Shaw, 40, Senior Record Custodian at the Department of Federal Logistics, the kind of government office where fluorescent lights hum louder than the people who work beneath them. My colleagues call me meticulous. My ex-husband used to call me boring. Both were right in their own ways. I've built a life around silence, order, and invisible efficiency. But even in quiet places, betrayal has a way of echoing. It began with a discovery so small, so routine, it should have been nothing. A procurement log from 3 years ago, recently amended. A digital signature changed. A supplier added. To anyone else, a clerical correction. To me, a deviation. And I noticed deviations. The amended vendor name hit me like static through glass. Landon Shaw Holdings, Landon Shaw. My ex-husband, we hadn't spoken in 5 years. Not since the divorce settlement that stripped me of half my savings and every illusion I had about justice. Landon, ever the charming entrepreneur, had claimed bankruptcy just before the court ruled in my favor. I'd walked away with nothing but a used car and a mortgage. He'd walked away with a new fiancé and a consulting firm that seemed to materialize overnight, and now, apparently, a federal contract worth 7 figures. I stared at the screen, feeling that same quiet, analytical calm I'd mastered in my job. Not rage. Not shock. Just precision. He'd done it again, manipulated the system and assumed no one would notice. He'd underestimated me. Again that night, I stayed in the archives long after everyone left. Under the pretense of a backlog, I began pulling old digital records, procurement histories, bid approvals, vendor logs, and payment trails. Every key press echoed through the silent room like a metronome counting down to something inevitable. 2 hours later, I had a map. Landon's company had secured 6 contracts over the past 2 years, totaling nearly $14 million. Each one had been funneled through shell corporations, fronted by names I recognized from our old social circle: his poker friends, his college roommate, his brother-in-law. It wasn't just fraud. It was laundering, bribery, collusion. And I was holding the first thread. I printed nothing. I copied nothing. Everything stayed encrypted within a private partition of the federal system, an invisible corner of cyberspace only I could access. If I was going to burn Landon Shaw, I was going to do it properly, by the book, line by line, clause by clause. Over the next 6 months, I became a ghost in my own department. I smiled at coworkers, attended compliance meetings, logged invoices. But behind every polite nod was the quiet hum of vengeance taking shape. I tracked his financial movements. Each luxury car purchased under a shell LLC. Each offshore transfer disguised as consulting fees. Each bribe disguised as charitable donations. Every lie documented. Every receipt preserved. Then, one Friday evening, my director forwarded a memo. New internal audit team to be led by contractor Landon Shaw. Please provide full system access. The air left my lungs. He wasn't content with stealing from the system, now he wanted to walk inside it. To audit the very structure he'd corrupted. That was the moment I stopped documenting and started building. 2 weeks later, Landon Shaw walked back into my life like he owned the building. Same tailored suit, same careless smile. Evie, he said, the nickname slicing through the air like a blade dipped in honey. Still guarding the archives, huh? Still pretending to build companies, huh? I replied evenly. His grin faltered for a split second before he recovered. You always had a sharp tongue, he said. Let's try to keep this professional. Oh, it will be, I said softly. He didn't know it yet, but I'd already built a digital labyrinth for him, a mirror of our procurement system filled with false leads, time-stamped edits, and audit logs designed to expose every illegal access. Each keystroke he made would incriminate him in real time. I didn't need to hack him. I just needed him to act naturally. And he did. Within 3 days, he'd altered payment authorizations, moved funds between accounts, and corrected entries that traced directly back to his shell companies. Every action logged. Every access approved by him. 3 weeks later, I compiled everything into a single classified report. I attached the access logs, the duplicate invoices, and the money trail linking back to Landon's Cayman account. Then I forwarded it through an encrypted channel to the Office of Federal Oversight with one final note. Audit logs captured under standard archival review, per regulations C. Recommend escalation to criminal investigation. Shaw. The dominoes began to fall. 2 months later, federal agents swarmed Landon's glass-walled office in Arlington. Cameras caught the moment he was handcuffed mid-call, face pale, lips parted in disbelief. They charged him with federal fraud, money laundering, and obstruction of justice. I didn't attend the arraignment. I didn't need to. My work was already buried in the official record, anonymous, procedural, unstoppable. At home, I opened a bottle of the same red wine he used to mock me for buying on a government salary. I poured a glass and sat by the window, watching the rain streak the glass like tears I never shed. By the end of the year, Landon was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison and ordered to pay full restitution, not to me, but to the taxpayers he defrauded. Justice rarely personalizes itself, but that was fine. Revenge doesn't need applause, it just needs completion. 6 months later, I was summoned to a private meeting with the deputy director of oversight, an older woman with silver hair and eyes sharp as glass. Your audit work on the Shaw case was exceptional, she said, sliding a folder across the desk. Inside was an appointment letter stamped with the federal seal of appointment. Evelyn Shaw, Director of Compliance Intelligence Division, you'll head the new team tracking internal fraud. Effective immediately. I nodded. Thank you, ma'am. She studied me for a moment, as if searching for emotion. You don't seem surprised. I've been preparing for this my whole life, I said. That night, I returned to the archives one last time. The hum of the machines felt almost like a heartbeat, steady, eternal. I logged one final entry into the classified system. Case closed. Shaw, Landon, status. Sentenced, filed by E. Shaw, Director. Sid, personal note. The quiet ones keep records. The clever ones know where to find them. But only the patient ones survive long enough to use them. I shut off the monitor, turned off the lights, and walked into the corridor unseen, uncelebrated, but completely victorious. Because in the end, revenge isn't about rage or retribution, it's about precision, and nobody files revenge like a record custodian.